time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
It's just something me and my dad had kind of talked about. I want to finish what I started. I never want to, sit out a game. I just don't think I have that in me. I don't think I could do that and live with myself. But, like I said, I just wanted to come in, work hard, and not really take anything away from the season. I wanted that to be after the season, after we finished our games up.
You know who Alabama is. They're a very physical team. So, just up front, offense and defense, we pushing each other every day when we go good on good, just pushing each other just because that's where it starts. That's where the first contact happens. So that's what you got to be ready at.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, live from downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Radio Network, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, the Professor Tom Hayes, and Brian Leonard. We are here live, breathing air, talking to you and taking you into the holiday weekend with the best in sports in South Carolina, as we do every single night.
Best
if
in the
you
world.
want to
in the world.
Join us, 800-956-7266 is the number. I do agree with that. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @sportstalksc. As you travel about, and if you lose us, of course, a couple of ways to stay with us. Our YouTube channel on our website, sportstalksc.com, or go to our YouTube channel, SportsTalkSC. You can watch us and hear us there. On the TuneIn app, a great device for your phone is the TuneIn app. You must have that.
Mm-hmm.
You must have that. I love it. And our Columbia affiliate, The Point Radio, never preempts us. Great place to go to get us if you lose us over the airwaves and you want to stay with us. So first of all, let me say, by wishing the Sports Talk family right here, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
As we move forward, happy holidays. Get a little emotional here on we're a couple of days away from Christmas.
It's our final day all together this year, though.
Gets a little touchy. Brian, happy holidays to you.
It gets touchy, yeah.
Gets a little,
I channel my inner Mr. Spock.
Some of us get a little verklempt this time of the year,
Nice word.
So we wish everybody safe travels and hope that Santa is good to you and that you deserve to get what you get, whatever it happens to be.
Lump of coal.
Mm-hmm. Tonight on the program, we are loaded up for you once again. Clemson has won in basketball, so we'll hear from Brad Brownell. They beat Louisiana Lafayette pretty soundly this afternoon. Details coming up. Dabo Swinney met with the media one final time before hitting the road for a little Christmas shopping himself, going to Alabama before he goes to New Orleans. We'll hear from Israel Mukwamu. Future Gamecock cornerback will join us at the bottom of the hour to talk about coming home. Of course, he's out of Berkeley High School before going and playing this past season in Louisiana. We'll hear from the Gamecocks' Hayden Hurst, from the Tigers' Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. So we just got a ton of good stuff for you tonight here on Sports Talk.
Metric ton.
One thing I like to do on our last show before Christmas is to talk about who in the sports world would you like to give a gift to, and what would that gift be? Who in the sports world would you want to give a gift to, and what would that gift be? I'll start.
Go ahead.
I would like to give Aaron Rodgers a healthy shoulder and turn the clock back 8 weeks. That would be my gift. Turn the clock back 8 weeks or 7 weeks, whatever it was, and give him a healthy shoulder. And wish that Minnesota defensive lineman had maybe slipped or something before he crashed into Rodgers and killed my season. Typically, I wish Larry Bird a new back and hoping that Larry Bird could go back to being Larry Bird. But now I've adjusted it to Aaron Rodgers. What would be your wish?
Well, if we're keeping it local, I'd like to give South Carolina a competent offensive coordinator so that they can play the 2018 season with the kind of offensive prowess that we thought we were going to see this year.
Though. We're talking about a person. Let's make it more personal.
I'd like to give the Mets a new owner.
That's an organization. That's a team. Give me a person.
I'd like to give Fred Wilpon money. How about that?
Let's go to Pro. He doesn't quite get it. You think on it for a minute. Pro, who do you want?
Well, it's not what I want. I just like.
I don't understand the question.
Well, he was talking about one person.
One person, a person.
A person a gift.
Give a person a gift. Yeah, it's not that
I
hard.
give the Mets owner money. I would give him a bottomless.
He's got plenty of money.
He's not spending it. That's the problem.
All right, Pro, who is your present for?
Oh, well, my present is collective present because it still stings. No, just send a Super Bowl ring to every member of the Atlanta Falcons. We almost had one.
That's not the question.
That is, yeah, but
It's supposed to be for a person.
Quit changing the goalposts.
If you want to say,
it is a person. A person.
If you wanted to say, okay, I wish Matt Ryan had thrown give him one more touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. That would be appropriate.
And what would have happened? Everyone would have gotten Super Bowl rings. So
you'd have probably won. You'd have probably won.
I wish.
All right, you guys really blew that.
No, I didn't.
No, I think
we actually corrected.
Really disappointing. One note here: Zion Williamson.
Oh,
is not going to be playing in the beach ball next week.
He's injured.
He does have a foot in a boot still. A deep bruise in a foot. It's kept him sidelined in a walking boot for the last month. He told USA Today the doctor told him he needs to rest it until he's back 100%. They want him to be cautious with it. And so they're looking at the big picture. So that means he won't play in the beach ball. He'll miss a matchup with Montverde Academy and their star R.J. Barrett, a Duke signee, a potential matchup with him, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I wouldn't play if I wasn't fully ready to go if I was him.
You know, his dad told me back in August they weren't going to play. This is before he was hurt. Now, that was more about the fact that he didn't believe the team had been built up enough to be competitive with these top teams, and he didn't want his son out there playing 1-on-5. I don't know if that still has anything to do with it or not, but one thing I was told was that
was back when he was actually talking to you.
I'm hearing the school is nobody talks to me anymore. I'm hearing the school's going to kind of like downgrade its program after this year because the headache of having a major recruit in their midst just hasn't been worth it to them. You know, even though they get the huge gates everywhere they play and that sort of stuff, just all the other stuff that's come along with it has been very difficult to deal with.
Well, that's a shame because if you don't know how to handle prosperity, you're not going to have prosperity. Like that's the kind of thing. It's like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Like there are ways to handle this. Apparently they don't know how to.
I guess. I mean, you know, it's just a school. Spartanburg Day has no history of athletics until Zion Williamson showed up, until they moved from Florence a couple of years ago and planted their roots there. And now they've had a couple of years of all this attention and hype. Maybe it's just not exactly what they want to be. Let's go to Jerry in Hanahan. Get a caller on the air here on Christmas Eve edition of Sports Talk. What's up?
There you go. Well, I'm a true Gamecock fan. I'm 69 years old. And my Christmas gift would be to give Marcus Lattimore 2 good knees.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
That's really a shame. It's really a shame how few games he got to play in college because of those injuries.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think he would have been an excellent pro, but, you know, he just had his freakish accidents. And then in the first one he had, he shouldn't have been on the field. You don't have your star running back in a blocking assignment. I'm sorry. I mean, that's on who was it?
Spurrier. The Spurrier.
Was it Spurrier?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, and you just don't do that. I mean, as valuable as he was for the team, and you go put him on a blocking assignment, I'm sorry. Anyway.
But you know, Jerry, I hear what you're saying, but you can't hide from injuries in football. You just can't hide. You can't
finds you.
Yeah, you can't hide from it.
Well, I understand all that, but y'all do a good job. I wish y'all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
You know, Tennessee could have wiped out Nick Chubb.
True.
But he was
I'm reading a story in Sports Illustrated from a couple of weeks ago about, the headline is in the cover is about all the injuries in the NFL. And they took like this 1 day, this 1 week, I think it's week 4 in the NFL. And by the timeline going hour by hour through the games, how many mainline players suffered injuries that cost them games down the road. And I'm reading this and I'm going, well, I mean, it's football and there's no way to prevent it, either in games or practice or just working out. If you're in cleats and running on grass, you can hurt yourself. Be back in a moment.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, now you know what? You've only got 2 more days to buy the state's finest Christmas trees. I really feel kind of foolish telling people this here just 2 days before Christmas Eve. If you don't have your Christmas tree by now, seriously, you're going to get one. But if you don't have it, say you've been out of the country, you've just made it back, and you're thinking, I got to get a Christmas tree. You can go tomorrow to your state, local South Carolina Department of Agriculture farmers market. They still have Christmas trees for sale. So it's not too late. Make your home beautiful and support the farmers. They are available, the trees, until Christmas Eve.
Some people I know, Corn, don't put their Christmas tree up until Christmas Day and then keep it going. You can still get a lot of mileage out of it because Christmas actually lasts until Feast of the Epiphany.
Feast of the what?
Feast of the Epiphany.
He's been out for about.
Never heard of that.
He's been out
because you're Jewish.
Yeah, he's been out recruiting, and he hasn't gotten his Christmas tree yet. And since he makes so much money, Jimbo Fisher could fly into Columbia and get his new Christmas tree over at the farmers market and take it back to College Station.
This is true. I'd never heard that before. I thought Christmas Day was like one day.
No, it's a whole period of time.
Well, it comes from, if you remember, the 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a song.
No, it's a custom. It's part of the custom of the season of Christmas.
By the way, Will's alma mater, high school, playing here in Columbia, the Chick-fil-A Classic. This is Pope John the Sixth.
No, Paul the Sixth.
Paul the Sixth.
Paul the Sixth. You are so bad. They're up 62-34 on Huntington Prep out of New Jersey.
Hey,
under 8 minutes left. And I'm a terrible Panther alma mater person because I didn't know they were playing until after their game was over last night. They lost to Finlay Prep, who has Manute Bowles' son.
Bobo.
Yes.
Bobo. What a name.
They lost to the Fighting Bobos.
Central Michigan has just scored, trailing Wyoming 30-13. Now, earlier today over at Little John, Clemson continued its winning ways. Tigers very impressive. 89-60. They're 11-2. Lala falls to 10-3. Leading the way for the Tigers today with 17 was Dante Grantham. Boy, has he refound his game. 17 points, 10 rebounds, did have 5 turnovers. 15 points for Shelton Mitchell, 15 and 5. He also had 6 assists. Elijah Thomas had 15 and 4 and 4 amblocks. And David Scarra off the bench, 24 minutes. He had 11 points and 3 rebounds. That bench is getting a little bit longer. Amir Sims played 11 minutes. Clyde Trapp got 9 minutes of playing time. Mark Donald started, got in foul trouble. He only played 8 minutes. So impressive win for the Tigers. They shoot 57% from the floor overall, 73% from the line, 11 of 24 from 3.
That Grantham, by the way, went with that 17-point effort. It becomes the 39th Clemson player to surpass 1,000 points. They had Marquise Reed do it last week, and but basically for the second time in less than a week, he gets 1,000 points. And Clemson's head coach very happy about the 11-1 start, concluding non-conference play.
Great way to finish first semester, and that was kind of the message we had leading in. Was finish. Our guys just played great basketball today. I thought we played really well. This is a dangerous team, very talented, very athletic. They showed flashes of why they're 10-3, but I just thought our guys played at a high level. And we had a few too many turnovers. That was the only thing that I didn't like, but our defense was really good in a lot of ways and challenged most shots, rebounded it well against a good rebounding team, kept them out of transition. And, again, I think offensively we was really good to see some guys like Clyde make shots and David Scarra make shots. And, Gabe, unfortunately, was in foul trouble. Dante was great, double-double, and then tremendous leadership. I thought the last 2 days he's been just really echoing a lot of the things I've talked about to the team, and that's been really good to see. So couldn't be more pleased with the way we played, the approach of our team. It's almost a little bad that we're heading into break. We're kind of playing really good basketball. Now you almost rather keep playing. But we'll enjoy the days off, and that'll probably be good for our guys too.
This was David's third game back, gradually increasing his minutes. It had to be good to see him start off. He was 3 for 3 from the field in the first half, 2 for 2 from 3.
Well, it's good. Yeah, and David just wants to be a part of a good team, and he's all about winning. And obviously with Gabe in foul trouble, that helped give him a few more minutes today, and he took advantage. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things. He can make a three. I've talked about that. I think everybody thinks because we talk about him being a good defender that he can't ever play offense. He's a good player. And he's a guy that cares about defending and cares about being involved in all the plays. And so it's nice to see him rewarded by making a couple threes, but he's had an impact in the other 2 games without scoring that much. So happy for him, and certainly think he's going to have a big role in our future.
Really talked about improving defense all offseason. Are you where you want to be at this point? You finally started to see.
Well, we're better in certain ways for sure. I think our guys are really trying hard. We still aren't. We still have some limitations, like a lot of teams do, but our guys are giving us good effort most of the time. I think we have pretty good focus and attention to detail. We had a few breakdowns today, but by and large, I'm obviously very pleased. Our last 2 games, I think we've defended very well, and there were portions of the Florida game where I thought we guarded really well. Not as many minutes as the last 2, but in a couple of winning time plays, I thought our defense was really, really good in the Florida game. So, it's something we just got to constantly stick with, work at. But, I'm pleased with how we've approached things so far in the first semester.
Clemson had 34 points in the paint in that game, and they held Jakeetan Gant, who was a Missouri transfer to Louisiana Lafayette, to 4 points and 3 rebounds in 31 minutes. And they held the Raging Cajuns without a field goal for the final 7:49 of the contest, and just 4 points all coming on free throws. In that
By the
period.
way, I was reading off the post-game stats. It had Clemson 11-2. They're actually 11-1. So make sure we get that right. And so that's a great start for them as they get a little bit of a break now before they get to ACC play. They get NC State at home a week from tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And, I would think Tiger fans would turn up for that ACC game. Those who haven't gone to New Orleans, 4 o'clock tip. You got an 11-1 team. NC State is they've had their struggles.
Yes.
Then they go to Boston College. Then you get a Louisville team at home on January 6th.
3-0.
They could be 3-0. And then they go to NC State on January 11th
Maybe
for a
4-0.
9 o'clock tip.
Maybe 4-0.
They could be 4-0 before Miami comes in. Then it gets really interesting. Miami, Notre Dame. I'm sorry. Miami at North Carolina. Notre Dame at home. At Virginia. That little stretch right there is probably going to tell the tale on if they have a good season or a great season.
Go to
got to get one of those.
Get a detour, drive to Wofford, and touch the Wofford's team's hands before you go to Chapel Hill and see what happens.
You can bring Mike Young with you.
Also, a team under the radar is Georgia. One of the things
they got to win. Was it last night or earlier today?
Earlier today, the team that beat both Clemson and South Carolina, Temple, got blown.
Yeah.
And Mike Morgan, hats off to him. He said early on, Deontay Mayton may be the guy to win. 30 points, 12 rebounds.
I want to mention a couple of sad notes in the sports world, sports broadcasting world.
Yes.
Dick Enberg unexpectedly passing away yesterday, actually, at the age of 82 at his home in California.
Very sad. And
then another sportscaster, a voice in our state for a number of years that you may recall, Maurice Stanfield, who did sports talk radio in South Carolina, both locally in the Columbia market and I think the Greenville market, and also worked for a network for a while. Unfortunately, we're told that he has passed away in the last week or so.
What was the ex-Marine, wasn't it?
Who's this?
One of your ex-Marines?
Maurice? I don't know. But a super nice guy, really a super nice guy. So we're sorry to hear that news. Thought we'd share that with you here. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a future Gamecock, Israel Mukwamu. Let's work on that name. I got it. Israel Mukwamu will join us after the break. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Just talking here with poor Will.
Oh, stop it.
Gonna be by his lonesome here over the holidays.
Happily. I'm very happy.
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody out there has room at the table, I'm serious.
Maybe Vern and Bishopville will invite me over.
I can see you and Vern breaking bread
we
together.
We can really
That'd be cool.
Over their heads.
We can really get together.
Breaking bread over their heads.
Today in Bossier City, Louisiana, they had the signing ceremony for their high school football prospects. And one of those two, well, he'd already signed, but this was part of the ceremonial deal there at Parkland High School, is a future USC cornerback Israel Mukwamu, who, of course, started his career in South Carolina at Berkeley before moving prior to this past season to Louisiana. And he joins us now here on Sports Talk tonight around the state. Good evening, Israel. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
We're good. We're good. Congratulations on everything. Tell us about your ceremony today and what it was like for you, even though you had signed on Wednesday and was officially announced by USC, with your family and friends and your teammates.
I mean, it was a great deal. Two other prospects, Terrence Marshall and Justin Rogers, we all signed today. So just was a good deal just to get out in front of the community and share our future with them.
Yeah. Now, Marshall, some call him the best receiver in the country, going to LSU. How'd you do against him in practice on a daily basis?
I did pretty good. We went back and forth a lot. So it was pretty good chat. It was a pretty good challenge. He got me better, and I got him better.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know you were committed elsewhere, Israel, before you pledged your commitment to the Gamecocks. I know that there were certain things I'm sure that led to your decommitment, but what made you choose South Carolina?
South Carolina. I chose South Carolina because they was the first to offer me, and when I started getting recruited, first to show me love. They've been on me, but I moved to Louisiana. Things kind of fell apart. Visit there in the summer, about 3 days before I committed, and Coach Muschamp said, "We understand that you're going to Florida State, but we're just gonna keep recruiting you until signing day." And since that day, they never let up on their word. So when that incident went down with Coach Fisher leaving and me decommitting, I knew where my heart wanted to be.
I've seen various heights on you. I imagine 6'4.5", 6'5". First question is, have you stopped growing, and are you going to grow into a big safety or even maybe a linebacker one day?
I don't know. I'm probably still am growing, but I'm not sure. But my future right now for South Carolina, they want me at cornerback, and I'm ready to play.
I want to go back to your decision here for a moment. Have you allowed to even ponder the question that if things had not changed at Florida State, if Jimbo had stayed, what you would have done? Do you think you still ultimately would have flipped to USC or stayed with the Seminoles?
I'm not sure. I guess it was just God planning to open the door for Jimbo to leave, but I'm not sure if I would have flipped or not. That's kind of a tough question to answer, but
yeah,
but I'm not sure because anything could happen. So that's why I just kept taking my visits and looking around, but I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. Going back to the question about your height, 6'4", 180 is what we've got you at, and they like you as a corner. So describe yourself. I mean, that's a tall corner, which has its advantages, maybe its disadvantages. How do you match up with the smaller, speedy receivers that you may have to cover coming off the line?
Well, that's one thing I work on is quickness, lateral quickness. So I think I can match up very well with quick receivers. I mean, it's going to be tough for them to get around my body because I'm so long. But down the field with these quick receivers, I think I got them beat. But on the short routes, just gonna have to adjust, play with my length on the short routes. So I think I'll match up pretty well.
There are about 5 or 6 guys in this class, Israel, including you, who are basically being brought in here to USC to revamp the secondary and play defensive back. How much contact have you had with some of the other guys in this class, chock full of defensive backs?
We have a group chat with all the commits. So we talk almost every day. We talk every day about different things, just getting ready to start the program, getting the program where it needs to be. So we contact a lot. We definitely are brothers. So we just ready to go, ready to work, coming in early. Most of us are coming in early. Some of us coming in the summer. But we talk every day. But we got our mindset on what we need to do, and we are ready to work.
You know, you're a South Carolina kid, so you know about South Carolina football, Clemson football. You've seen what Clemson's been able to do, and you've seen where South Carolina's gone now in 2 years under Muschamp. With your class coming in and what's coming back and what you know of the team, how close do you think South Carolina is to breaking through in a big way and getting into the college football playoff? Can you see that happening in your time at South Carolina, or maybe even sooner than that in the next couple of years?
Yes, sir. I definitely think we're right there. We have the number 18th class right now, and that's just off of 2 years of rebuilding. So we definitely right there. I believe in these next couple of years we'll be right where Georgia is today, and right where Clemson is today. We just right there. We just got to get the kids around South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia to believe in what South Carolina is doing.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it open-ended. Who on the South Carolina wide receiving core are you most looking forward to lining up against in practice?
To Otrey Smith and Brian Edwards. They're big, tall receivers. Yes, sir. They're big, tall receivers. I got to see them practice when I was at South Carolina last week, and they're big, tall receivers. And I want to go against the best. I want to practice against the best because once Saturday comes, you're gonna be playing against the best. So
you mean you don't want any piece of Deebo Samuel? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I can take him too. I forgot about him. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, now, didn't you face Ortrey in high school?
Oh, yes, sir. I did face Ortrey in high school.
Mm-hmm. How'd you do?
He got me a couple of times.
Uh-huh.
He got me a couple of times. Got a touchdown on me, but after that, it was knockdown. After that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
so what are you doing for the holidays?
Just spending time with my family and also training, trying to get back into college shape actually, and just also hitting the weight room a little bit.
Yeah, what's the message that you've gotten from Muschamp and T-Rob and the other defensive coaches? And I'm sure it's a message they've given to all the recruits who are coming in early. But what have they told you about how to get yourself ready and what to expect when you get there?
They just told me just come in shape. They're gonna take care of the weight room part, but just make sure you come in shape and ready to go. Coach Muschamp told me last week that it's not an opportunity to play early; it's an expectation to play early. So I got to go in. I'm going in with the right mindset to come in and try to take somebody's position.
You have a big DB class coming in. You guys already commiserated and say, "Look, we're going to take this thing home."
Yes, sir. Yep. Yes, sir.
Well, we congratulate you once again and enjoy the holidays. I guess it must feel good. I mean, the early signing period, you're able to get it done. You're locked in.
Yep.
Feels good to have it off your shoulders for the holidays.
Yes, it feels very, very good. Now I can focus on what I need to get better on. Focus on the school and just spend time with my family. My family is very excited about me going to South Carolina. They feel very confident in Muschamp and Coach T-Rob. So it's an exciting moment right now.
That's one of the positives about the early signing period. For the players, you know where you want to go. You can sign on the dotted line and be done with it. We congratulate you, man, and have a great holiday. Look forward to following your career with the Gamecocks, and we'll see you sometime in the spring. And they won't let us talk to freshmen, but at least we can come watch you.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
You take care. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you in 2 years, Israel.
Yeah. Israel Mukuamu. Get used to saying that name. M-U-K-U-A-M-U, Mukuamu. I think he's going to be a good one for the Gamecocks. Back in a moment.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, thanks to Israel Mukwamu here on Sports Talk. A great kid. Think he's going to have a great career at South Carolina. Jair Alexander, a one-time USC commitment. He was one of those guys who bailed on the Gamecocks when Steve Spurrier uttered the words, I'm coached another 2 or 3 years. I'm done. After that, they all started dropping like flies. He was one of them, went to Louisville, was very good. He announced today he's turning pro and he will not play in the bowl game.
Sad. This is sad, man.
We'll hear from Hayden Hurst, who takes a complete opposite approach of those guys about playing in the bowl game. That's coming up. Earlier today up at Clemson, they had their final practice before taking off for the Christmas holidays. They will reconvene at Clemson on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
They will practice on the 27th at Clemson.
Morning of the 27th, and then they will fly down to New Orleans.
And you will be waiting on them when they get there.
Around 3:30 at Louis Armstrong International Airport.
Yes, Louis Armstrong. You going to stay at his place while you're there?
I'm not. No.
I mean, since you know everybody in New Orleans, we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Emily,
maybe you're going to stay with maybe you're going to stay with Dab. Dab going to let you. I heard today that he was signing autographs for the Clemson media.
Yeah, he was. How funny was that?
Not very funny, if you ask me.
It's pretty stupid. We've talked about this on the air a couple times. You know, the people who cover Clemson, for the most part, are very nice, fair, honest, unbiased journalists. And there are a couple of outlets, including the one that was soliciting autographs from Dabo Swinney, that kind of ruins the pot for the rest of us and makes us all look bad.
Well, I just know that in the day of real reporting around these schools with people like Bob Bradley and Tom Price running the shop, if you did that around them with their people, they'd break your arm. Seriously.
They'd be upset.
They'd break your arm. That would never happen. And things have changed. Unfortunately, we do have so much fandom in our media today. And listen, we get the barbs from the nuts on Twitter every time we say something one way or the other. We're viewed as that team.
No,
but you cut us open and look at us. You know that we're not a fan of either team. We talk about both sides. We cover both sides, and we don't pretend to be a fan of either team either way. Unfortunately, there are some people who are on websites, in particular, not newspaper people, talking about website people that have their little team websites and their little recruiting sites, who use that to further expand their love and their fandom for the team that they're covering. And that is the only reason, unless they couldn't get another job, they saw this as a way of making a living and being able to be around the people that they have a crush on, which, whether it's the Tigers or the Gamecocks, you got it both ways. It's just a little more pronounced with some people at Clemson than it is that I've seen at USC.
I'm a fan of interesting, compelling stories that garner a wide interest. That's really the only thing I'm a fan of.
Yeah. I wish it's not my place. I don't run the shops. I wish the people would crack down on it. They choose not to. They choose to turn
people run their own shops.
They make up, if you have a website and you're on one of the networks, if you're on 247 or Rivals or Scout or one of those, you have a website, regardless of, how you behave in person, they give you a seat in the press box. They give you access to the coaches and the players like they do for the real media. And they get in our way, to be quite honest with you, especially when they do boneheaded things like that. I mean, look, if you've got a football that you want Dabo Swinney to autograph for a friend or a family member or somebody in the hospital office during off time,
I wouldn't even want him to do that.
No, I have no problem with that.
No, I have a significant problem with that.
Why would you have a problem with that?
Because you're using your access.
No. You go through the channels. You go through channels. May I come up and drop off a football to be autographed for a sick relative?
Well, you pay for it online like the rest of the American public would do.
No. They routinely sign balls for people
believe me,
who are in the hospital, who are big fans, whatever the case may be.
Believe me, I see them.
I mean, I've done that before on both sides. I have taken footballs at the request of people, either for charity or for a sick fan I've gone through the proper channels.
For charity is a different
and I've
thing.
said, can I get this signed for this particular person?
It's time and a place to do it, not at a press conference.
All right, let's go to Dabo. We got time for Dabo?
Sure.
Let's go to Dabo from practice today. Tigers wrapping it up. Here's Dabo.
First of all, they're just so sound. I mean, they're just rarely out of position. They're very technically sound. They're physical. I mean, that's just that's the culture that they have in their program. So there's a certain mindset that you just have to have for 4 quarters. And if you don't, you're in trouble. So the mentality, number one, the soundness schematically, and then the diversity of what they do. So they're not going to just throw one pitch at you. They're a very multiple front, multiple coverage type of team. They're going to play a lot of man, but how they get to that is not always the same. Last year they played a lot of 2-man on us at first down, which was a little unique. And the only way you can in the competitive plays, and most of the time they're better than everybody they play in those competitive matchups. And because they can line up and play man coverage against pretty much anybody, and which allows them to control the box, allows them to control the safeties. A lot of times they can stop the run with 2 safeties, 2 high safeties, and that's a huge advantage. So they're just really, really talented. It's the biggest challenge that you have, and then well coached.
Without giving any of the game plan away, obviously they've been so banged up at linebacker. When a team is so decimated at a particular position like that, does that affect how you game plan?
Give me a break. I would never use the term decimated at any position group at Alabama. All right, they got players for days. Just go check all them recruiting rankings. Now they've had some guys hurt, but them guys that are playing, they didn't just show up there all fall off a turnip truck. All right, they're really good football players.
When you look at getting Trey Lamar back into the mix, what can he bring, especially when he's healthy?
Well, I mean, he's 250 plus pounds and he's physical, and playing a team like this, he just gives you a big time physical presence against big backs. They're just gonna force the issue. It's just the way it is. I mean, they're 2-1 run the pass, on their season. And they don't bring a lot of balance into this game. They bring a sledgehammer, and that's just who they are. He gives you a physical presence, just glad we got him back.
Coach, how big is gap integrity on the defensive line going to be with playing Jalen Hurts?
Well, it's huge. I mean, they've had a couple. They popped. The first year we played them, they popped that first long run, just for that reason. I mean, we fit a gap wrong. Had 2 guys in one gap and had one open, and what's that big back's name? Derrick Henry found it, and 50 yards later, it was a touchdown. And then last year, Scarborough, the one long run outside, we didn't leverage the ball, we didn't run the alley the proper way, and it got outside of us, and so we were gap short essentially, and they find it. So these guys know how to run the football. So even if you fit it right, you still gotta make the tackle. You gotta win the matchup, get off the blocks. But if you're not where you're supposed to be, they'll expose you in a heartbeat.
There you go, Dabo Swinney talking about Alabama from the get-go, the respect he has, of course, for his opponent. Of course, he'd say that about anybody he was playing, but I think he really means it. Alabama. This is what they have on the banner of their game notes. 16 national championships, 125 first-team All-Americans, 67 postseason games, 36 bowl victories, and 26 SEC championships.
And 0-1 in the last championship game.
You're gonna be rooting for me tomorrow, Corn, because
I doubt it.
Paul VI beat Huntington Prep 81-48. They play a school tomorrow from North Carolina tomorrow, so you will be rooting for me because of your disdain for North Carolina.
I told you, in the Catholic Church, I only recognize Pope John's. I don't recognize Pope Paul's.
What about John Paul's?
I thought you said you only recognize John's. Which could be,
well, that would work.
That could be something completely
I'm not even going to bring that up. See, that was Tom Hayes people who kind of went there.
I am going to New Orleans after all, aren't I?
Okay, not me. Okay,
I'm doubting Thomas. Hey.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Along with Brian Leonard, we are all back together here on Sports Talk on this Friday, Christmas Eve. Eve. That's it, right? Just 2 Eves? This is Christmas Eve Eve. It's the eve of Christmas Eve.
Eve.
A couple of days before Christmas Eve.
You can call it Christmas Threeve.
2 Eve.
Yeah. We will not be here on Christmas night.
No.
Be back with you on the day after Christmas from Tampa and from On the Road to New Orleans.
On the road to New Orleans.
On the road to New Orleans. We begin our coverage of the Gamecocks and the Tigers.
From an undisclosed
New
location.
Year's Day is going to be a great day.
Fantastic day
Let me think now. Let me think. Pro, you can help me out here real quick. Have the Gamecocks and Tigers ever before played on New Year's Day the same year, same time? Has that happened before? I'd have to go back and compare bowl schedules.
I'm doing it.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I'll do it while you do recruiting.
Yeah. Well, let's go to let's take the quick call.
Go ahead.
And we're going to go to Glenn, North Charleston. Hello, Glenn. Welcome in. Happy holidays to you. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, can you call it a week eve instead of a weekend? On a holiday, it could be a week eve.
Week eve. Yeah.
Well, eve can only be within a 24-hour period. So, and we're talking about a weekend, it probably is 48 hours. It's a little close, but we'll work with it.
Yeah, man. And Gamecocks next Monday, right?
A week from Monday.
So they are on at noon, right?
Correct.
Now we got to wait all the way to 10 o'clock at night for
8:45.
8:45 for Clemson.
Unless they will hold it up if the game before it runs long. They'll hold it up.
It will slide, yes.
Oh, okay. I wonder why they got everything in Florida. There's no, it'd be more fun with snow.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to. The players don't have to pay taxes on their earnings when they go down and play in Florida. It's one of the beautiful things about going down to Florida. Thank you, Glenn. Have a great rest of your holiday. Always good hearing from you. Hey, you know what? Let's do some recruiting. This is our gift to you, our loyal fans. There's a lot of things we can give you that cost lots of money. I prefer just to give you recruiting that costs nothing. You don't have to pay $9.99 a month for this. This is free. It's our constant gift to you. Shrine Bowl defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina, released his final 3, USC, North Carolina, Georgia, cutting Michigan and Florida. Plans to take officials to all 3. Said in his tweet, each school has a 100% chance to land him. He saw 4 USC games this season. He has family ties to the program through his mother, who is a grad. He tentatively is scheduled to visit Georgia January 12th, North Carolina on the 19th, and USC on February 2nd. Those dates came out during Shrine Bowl week by Adam Friedman of Rivals, and then when I asked Sandage about the dates just to confirm them after the Shrine Bowl game, he said, I didn't put those dates out. Actually, I said, well, they're out there. And he goes, well, they must have come through my mom because I don't even know the dates.
Actually, each team has a 33.3% chance to get it.
Well, he said 100%. He is a good-looking kid, though. I'll tell you what. I don't know if he can play, but he looks good. Had a good game in the Shrine Bowl, I think, with 5 tackles. Now, Clemson is one of the teams who will of 2 teams, one of 2, still involved with defensive back Matthew Hill, Snellville, Georgia. He's also a wide receiver. He committed to Auburn as a receiver in August. He's still holding to that. He did not sign early, though, so he could take his visits in January, and he plans to go to Clemson and Auburn and then finalize. And he said Clemson just reminds him about his team, the one he plays for now. Nothing too different about the systems. Brent Venables, Mickey Kahn were in to see him earlier this month. Dabo Sweeney will make his in-home next month. Tigers like him as a safety, which is fine with him. Has a problem playing safety. This past season, 2,185 all-purpose yards and 13 touchdowns. Former Arkansas commitment quarterback, 2019, Ty Evans, Monument, Colorado, plans to take an unofficial to USC in January. He decommitted November 26th. USC, one of his first offers. He also picked up offers from NC State and North Dakota State. Led his team to a state championship, passing for 3,627 yards and 42 touchdowns, and he was named the State Player of the Year. One-time USC target defensive back Asante Samuel of Fort Lauderdale signed with Florida State. USC, one of the schools still recruiting defensive lineman John Mincy, 6'4", 265, Homerville, Georgia. He's been committed to Arkansas but won't sign until February 7th. Kentucky, Georgia, Louisville, others still involved, according to Richard Davenport of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And defensive end Dorian Gerald of Florence in the College of the Canyons, junior college in California, indicated in a tweet last night to an apparent USC fan that USC may not be recruiting him any longer. The tweet, which Gerald later deleted, was in response to a question regarding his interest in the Gamecocks, and he responded by saying the Gamecocks had moved on and that he had done nothing wrong, which sort of falls in line with what I think's been going on here of late, because he has been totally out of touch since his unofficial visit to USC for the Clemson game. And ever since then, he's just been non-responsive. He has an official visit set in January with Ole Miss and with Florida. And he's already taken officials to Texas Tech and to Louisville. So that would only leave one spot there, it appears. At this point, this thing's kind of gone hot and cold between Gerald and South Carolina. It would appear that they've moved on with other people. Maybe they are eyeing this kid in Georgia, John Mincy. And there you go with our recruiting for now here on Sports Talk.
You want your answer to your question?
Answer my question.
The question, ask it again, please.
The question.
For dramatic effect.
The question is, have USC and Clemson played together on January 1 before?
The answer is yes.
2013?
Incorrect.
No.
You want to take a guess?
Let me think.
It's within my lifetime. Just a clue.
In this century?
See, South Carolina has never played in a traditional New Year's Day bowl game. So the only time they have played on New Year's Day has been in the Outback Bowl when it moved to New Year's Day, and the Citrus Bowl when it was on New Year's Day. I don't know.
2001, January 1st, 2001. They both played on January 1st,
Where was
2001. Clemson was in the Gator Bowl.
Oh,
they lost that game 41-20 to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Well, I was right. It was in this century.
Yeah.
2001.
But I was right about the Outback Bowl being the only opportunity for
that was
USC.
when Virginia Tech.
I went for the last time that South Carolina was in the Citrus Bowl.
By the way, that was when Virginia Tech was in the Big East, so that doesn't confuse people.
Right. I remember that game. That was Virginia Tech. Was that with Michael? What's his name?
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick at quarterback. Was he quarterback back then? Before his game went to the Dogs. Oh God. Corn, how could you say that?
Wow.
How could you say that? All right, there you go.
Of course, South Carolina won that Outback Bowl with Lou Holtz.
Yeah, they beat John Cooper, or as the Ohio State fans came to call him, John Stooper. They beat Ohio State back to back.
It was Michael Vick in that game.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's amazing when you're, talking to the corn. It's just amazing how the information just spills out.
You play in the role of the blind squirrel here
information
today.
should have spilled out that you should have known 2001.
All right, coming up, we're going to hear from USC tight end Hayden Hurst. Truly one of the finest players in college football. They don't come any better than this guy. And I think the fact that he's a little bit older and mature works in his favor. We'll hear from him, and we'll hear from who are we going to hear from, Dexter or Christian?
I like Dexter's better.
Dexter Lawrence, the big defensive lineman who stands to supplant the departing members of the Clemson defense as the leader of that defense next year.
He could be the last man standing. Sean Pollard, Tremaine Anchor could be the last man standing on the Clemson offensive line. There could be a whole new cast of characters when those units reconvene next season.
Reload time.
Reload. I think they've already proven that they don't rebuild. This is an indication this year that they're at the point where rebuilding doesn't happen. They just reload and keep moving forward.
That's how they can get guys like Jackson Carmen and KJ Henry in there.
Okay, we'll be right back with Hayden Hurst.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Get rid of us? You trying to get rid of us?
One more recruiting note. Now that the early signing period is over, we can update the recruiting rankings for those of you who live and die by that nonsense. Rivals, Clemson 12, USC 14, 24/7 Sports, Clemson 8, USC 17, ESPN, Clemson 5, and USC 18. See, the reason I make fun of the rankings is that the people now who make a living out of covering recruiting off these networks.
Not unlike you.
No. I don't make my living off of it.
Okay.
It's just part of what I do. It's
Gotcha.
been a part of my life for 34 years.
Gotcha.
Anyway, they want you to believe, and they want their subscribers to believe, that these rankings now identify how good a player is and how
correct
will be in college by assigning them a star rating. And the point to me is, prior to 1999, when this nonsense started, 1998, 97, 96, and going back, players were still great back then. Nobody was identifying them with star rankings at that point in time. Teams went out and recruited. And let's face it, the teams that recruit the best players are going to have the best teams. That's just logic. And so the fact that now we have a system where the star rankings are assigned for publicity purposes and for, I mean, I don't know if you use them for comparative reasons or not. It really bothers me when I constantly see members in the media, even the real media, who I criticize for being a bit lazy when they do this. They can't write a recruiting story without identifying a player by his star ranking, as if that's the only thing that matters about a player. It seems to me that if you're covering South Carolina or Clemson and they offer a guy, truly offer him and will take his commitment, they've evaluated him and believe that he can win in the SEC or in the ACC in the case of Clemson. And just because a network has assigned him a star rating of whatever it happens to be, doesn't mean he's going to be a great player, or doesn't mean he's going to be a flop, depending on what the rating is. It's like Muschamp said to a reporter the other day at his press conference when asked about a player. He goes, "Hey, I don't offer a guy who I don't think can play."
Right.
Okay. I don't offer a guy who I don't think can play. And, you know, when I see comments from people on our Twitter timeline asking about players, well, why did they offer this 3-star guy? Why did they, take a commitment from this guy?
They can develop them.
Well, I mean, players can be developed. You hope that you can improve from your high school days to your junior year in college to where you are a winning football player to help your program win. And you'll see coming up too, of course, the recruiting networks will put out stories saying, see, look how many 5-stars are playing in the national championship game. And look how many 5-stars are playing in the Super Bowl, as if assigning them a star ranking made them a great player.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
No, I do.
You're a great player because you play the game better than the next guy. Somebody has given you a star ranking. It all works out in the wash when you put them on a field on a Saturday and one team beats the other. They got better players, or they have a better game plan that fits their team than the opponent did.
And also, you don't know the psychological effect it has on a guy's work ethic when he says, okay, they think I'm only a 2-star. Okay, I'm going to show you.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're offered by South Carolina or Clemson and can commit to them, then the people who were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to evaluate you and who have been in your school, in your home, and looked at hours and hours of your film, and they think you can win, that's the only thing that matters.
There you go.
That's the only thing that matters. Hayden Hurst was a guy who had to walk on. He had no stars by his name as a football player, and I'd say he's emerging after 3 years at South Carolina as one of the top tight ends in the country.
He has some scars from his baseball career. No stars, but scars.
I think that's some scars from football too.
Yeah.
Now he's moving on, and he's one of those guys who Well, here's his conversation with the media from yesterday. Hayden Hurst.
It's just something me and my dad had kind of talked about. I want to finish what I started. I never want to sit out a game. I just don't think I have that in me. I don't think I could do that and live with myself. But like I said, just wanted to come in, work hard, and not really take anything away from the season. I wanted that to be after the season, after we finished our games up and finalized the bowl decision. But I just didn't want to take anything away from the team.
Has practice been any different with Coach McClendon kind of running the show and really without Coach Roper?
No, it's all been the same system. We haven't really changed a whole lot. He just wants us to get lined up and execute at a high level. I think that's just the key. You got to execute at a high level.
Hey, and how sweet would it be to win your last game, a bowl game, to get to 9 wins just 2 years after the team went 3-9?
Yeah, that'd be huge. It'd be a huge statement for this program and where Coach Muschamp is going to take it. I think it'd be the 7th team in school history with 9 wins. So I feel like that'd be huge for him and where he wants to take this program.
Hayden, Jake's numbers were okay for the season, but the last 3 games he threw, I think, 7 or 8 picks. How have you seen his confidence and how has how has he been able to keep it on an even keel throughout these past few games?
I think the biggest thing with him is just kind of freeing him up. I think sometimes we put a lot on Jake. We don't realize that he's a 19-year-old kid. It's a lot of pressure being a SEC starting Division I quarterback. But I think he did pretty well. I love the kid. I love how he competes. I don't think I could do his job, so I never want to take anything away from what he's done. But he's an impressive kid, and he's only going to get better.
Going to be a bunch of tight ends trying to, fill in for you when you're gone next year. What's your thoughts on some of those guys and what they'll bring to the table for this offense?
Yeah, that's as competitive a group as we have on the team. I love competing with those guys. I love playing with those guys. They're like my brothers. Jacob, knows the system well. He's been in it for 2 years now. KC, you got Keel Pollard, Evan Hinson. There's a lot of athletes in that room. You got Kyle coming back off injury. So, after I leave, it's still going to be in pretty good shape. Those are some good competitors, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what those guys do.
What is this university? What is the team wearing the garden and black meant to you from transitioning sports to now creating a future as a potential pro in that sport?
Like I said, kind of in my post, I owe everything that I've become to this university. I came on as a walk-on. Not many people knew who I was. I had a dream, had a vision, and I worked every day to try to make it happen. And, Coach Muschamp and his staff came in here and gave me an opportunity. I kind of ran with it. But, I love this city. This place completely changed my life. It's going to be really hard leaving on Friday because that's kind of the last day. I got my stuff all packed up. But, it's going to be hard. But, I love this place.
Hayden, how much do you think the offense can change with Coach McClendon in charge?
I think it'll be huge. BMAC just brings a sense of confidence that we need. I think we, for some time now, have been searching for a bit of an identity as an offense. And I think he has a pretty good philosophy on how he wants to run things and how he wants things done. I think that'll be really good for this team.
All right, Hayden Hurst having a really good year, second on the team in receptions with 41 for over 500 yards, has a couple of touchdowns. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some creative calls by Brian McClendon to get the football in his hands more, maybe some of those, not jet sweep.
Bring back the jet sweep.
More of a tank sweep.
Bring back the jet sweep.
Because when he brings it around, it's like a tank coming around that corner.
Here's the thing that needs to happen is that these need to be quicker hitting plays for South Carolina's offense. That is the big key for them to get their offense on track. So many of their plays were either predictable or slow moving. I don't know how many times sitting up there in that press box, whether it was you or me or Pro, could sit there and freaking call out when they were doing the zone read to A.J. Turner up the middle. Okay?
Well, that's because the snap took so long. It gives the coordinator and the guys calling the signals defensively on the field to look at the formation. Sometimes you just line up quickly. You can't process the formation that quickly.
That's what tempo does.
All right, when we come back over to Clemson, we're going to hear from the Tigers' big defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence, as we continue here on Sports Talk. All right, our final half hour of Sports Talk on this Friday night, heading into the holiday weekend. A reminder, we will be off on Monday. No Sports Talk of any kind. Back with you live on Tuesday from Tampa and from on the road heading to New Orleans. And then the rest of the week, coverage of both the Gamecocks and the Tigers. We'll have Will Muschamp for you on Tuesday night. He will visit with the media upon arrival in Tampa. Same thing on Wednesday, and then we'll have coverage after practice on Wednesday, and will have Dabo Swinney upon their arrival on Wednesday.
Get yourself a nice Cuban sandwich in Tampa.
Yeah, I could do that.
I got a couple places for you.
Okay, I've been to Tampa many times.
It's nice. It's a nice place.
Several Outback Bowls, an ACC basketball tournament, NCAA regionals. Yeah, we've been down to Tampa many times.
I had a buddy of mine get married in Tampa a couple years ago. It was nice.
That's really interesting, Will. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thanks.
Would that happen to be Dexter Lawrence? Was he that friend of yours who got married?
Dexter was not that
Did Dexter
friend.
sign a football for you when you were?
He did not. I did not.
Over there with him?
Did not solicit an autograph.
He rubber stamped it.
Did not solicit an autograph.
It's a big dude. Dexter Lawrence is, you stand next to him no matter how big you are, and you're a pretty big guy.
Yes.
How tall are you?
6'3".
6'3", about what, 315?
That's not true at all.
About 350?
About 220.
Oh,
thanks.
Do you feel small standing next to him?
You can feel small next to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You just feel small.
Him and Christian Wilkins both make you feel small.
Yeah, Christian's a big guy too, but I think Dexter's even more mammoth. I think he's taller than Christian.
I'd have to check that.
Yeah. Let's hear from him.
Dexter Lawrence, we were talking about food. He is looking forward to the food in NOLA.
A couple times. Beignets definitely was on there. That's number one. I want to know some gumbo, some jambalaya. I'm trying to be good because I say slim a little bit, but I'm gonna manage it well.
So, do you have a Cafe du Monde trip all planned out for beignets?
Oh yeah, my mom went to high school in New Orleans, so
really?
yeah. So she know all the spots. She'll be there too.
So I really think make it the beignet mix with like some of the
I didn't have any of them. I
you didn't want the fake one?
Oh yeah.
You always hear say that games like this are one of the trenches. How much more that emphasized against this team?
It's big time. We who Alabama is. They're a very physical team. So, just up front, offense and defense, we pushing each other every day when we go good on good. Just pushing each other, just because that's what all the games are won in the trenches. That's where it starts. That's where the first contact happens. So that's what you got to be ready at.
You've given up a lot of points against them the last 2 times.
Yeah.
So how much have you guys taken it upon yourselves to make sure that doesn't happen?
That's emphasized big time. That's kind of how practice been going the last couple of weeks. Just defense, just locking in, being serious, like not all the joking around. Just understanding that, like that's how they stay in the games with these points because our offense does well and our offense comes to play. We just got to come to play.
Where are you health-wise, and how big is the last month been for you to be able to get some rest?
This last month has been big. This is the best I felt all year. This last month I've just been going to treatment, trying to get healthy, getting ready mentally.
Austin kind of went through the same thing last year, dealing with the injury, trying to get healthy. Have you been able to lean on him a little bit?
Not so much. His was a little different. So he tells me to keep a positive mindset. Don't get down on yourself, and just you're gonna be good. Like just believe, and it's all mental, pretty much.
When you think of Jalen Hurts, what kind of pops in? What's the most you remember the most about going against him last year, and then kind of now reliving a lot of his season on film?
He's fast, strong, physical, not afraid of contact. Just a good player. He knows where to pick and choose, like where to throw the ball. How to escape the pocket well. So it's going to be a big challenge for us up front.
Are you guys more concerned with his running and scrambling ability, maybe than him get the ball downfield, if you control him and kind of keep him in the pocket?
He's definitely a balanced quarterback. we feel like we just got to contain them and collapse the pocket pretty much.
Yeah, Dexter, they have him listed 6'4", 340. Christian 6'4", 300.
About the same.
Both big guys.
We were talking about recruiting at one point, and I think when we were talking and thinking, what was the gym that's most difficult to get in a recruiting class? And that's, in my mind, I think we agreed it was ready-made defensive tackles. They just don't grow on trees. And Dabo hit the lottery with those two. I mean, they are tremendous.
Well, the thing with them that you don't get with a garden variety defensive tackle is while they have the size and the strength, they also have agility.
Lateral quickness.
Like they move almost like a 3-4 defensive end would in the National Football League.
Well, you look at this matchup, and, Alabama offensive line, and I don't know what's going to happen here. Usually they have a bona fide first-round draft pick or two on that offensive line. Now, I don't know if Jonah Williams, Ross Piersbacher, Bradley Bozeman, Lester Cotton, Matt Womack, if any of those guys are considered NFL prospects, they're all old enough for, well, Williams is a true sophomore. The others are old enough to be in the draft if they want to be. I don't know. I just don't know that Alabama's offensive line this year is of the ilk that we've seen in previous years when they've always had at least that one big guy that they could run behind, whether it was that big tackle they used to have or the center who was so good. Don't know if they have that this year. Well, also, they don't have the big threat at tight end that they had the last 2 years against Clemson. My point is, if you're Clemson's defense, as good as they are, yes, you respect Alabama. I'm not sure that you have to fear Alabama like you've had in the past. I'm not sure that they have the overall talent that they've had in previous years on offense to put 40 on the board against the Clemson defense as they've done.
I've been trumpeting this the entire time since I've seen this matchup. This is not even your father's Alabama. This is a different Alabama team. I think this is an Alabama team that comes in with flaws. I think that Jalen Hurts, while people have said all the very, very nice things about him, I think he's honestly regressed as a passer. I think part of that has to do with, his wide receiver distribution being so loaded towards Calvin Ridley. And I also think that a lot of their running has been done in the horizontal game. A lot of the screens, a lot of the flat passes have turned in from runs into passes there. And it just, in my mind, I just don't know if they can line it up and pound you like they usually do.
We talked about this, I think, previously, but I was talking with somebody else today about it, and it stands to reason if Clemson wins this game and then wins the national championship. I think you're looking at, Alabama has been the model for all these years. We're talking now in the modern era of football here in the late teens and moving into the 2020s in just a few years. You could see Clemson with what they've got going right now as being that model moving forward to where you not just have a couple of national championships, you might be talking a run of 4 or 5 national championships over the next 14 years.
Well, what has
13
gotten
years.
Alabama, the interest I'm seeing is Clemson has been effective because their staff has been consistent.
Right.
Notice how Alabama, you talk about Jalen Hurts, it is about his second or third offensive coordinator he's worked under.
Well, he had 2 last year.
Yeah.
When you consider Kiffin leaving.
Exactly.
Right.
So
and Sarkisian then left.
And then you have
bringing an NFL guy to run the offense.
And on the other side of the ball, you have a new defensive coordinator. So Alabama's been shuffling coordinators while they've still been winning, where Clemson has been consistent the last few years, and I think that has helped.
That's going to change. That's going to change because they've skated by this year. Nobody got hired for a head coaching job. Nobody's left. But I think Robbie Caldwell. I mean, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think Coach Caldwell's probably getting close to where he wants to
be a coordinator.
Hang it up.
Oh, hang it up. Okay.
Well, he's already been a head coach, so no, he's happy. He's going to finish his career at Clemson. But I think maybe I picked this up on the recruiting trail from talking to some recruits. That, he's sort of laying it out there. He's not going to be there too many more years. But they said, look, Dan Brooks retired. They lost another defense. Marion
Hobby.
Marion Hobby went back to. Did he go? No, where did he go? NFL? Back to the NFL? Wherever he went, they lost him, and they effectively replaced both. So again, they haven't missed a beat from that standpoint. And Dabo's already got his 10th assistant coach lined up and ready to step in too. So he's ahead of the game from that standpoint.
but
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
but I don't use that all.
Okay, final minutes of Sports Talk for this week. Heading into the holiday, a reminder, no show on Monday night. Back with you on Tuesday. Looking forward to being in Tampa. Looking forward to being in New Orleans to cover the Gamecocks and the Tigers. Will be your only Sports Talk show outlet in this state covering both teams, because that's what we do here on Sports Talk. Looking forward to seeing how South Carolina matches up with this Michigan team. It's a Michigan team that I don't think is going to overwhelm you offensively, but watching them on video, their defense looks really, really good. The Gary kid up front, number 7, highly recruited defensive lineman out of New Jersey. Clemson was heavily involved with him. He ended up going to Michigan, and he plays like a number 7 that was around here a few years ago. Not going to say he's as good as he was, but he's just a big bundle to handle off that defensive line. They're big and they're strong on defense, but they do look a little bit on the slowish side. I mean, they look like a typical Big Ten.
It's very Big Ten.
Plodding type team, which has cost them when they've come south to play these SEC teams that have a lot of speed.
That's why you have to stay ahead of schedule if you're South Carolina. You got to be quick on offense, get yourself a 2-score lead, make them play the offensive game they don't want to play, Will, and that's play catch up because they can.
I think the one thing that South Carolina will have to do is work to get the ball vertical and also horizontal. You need to be able to keep them guessing and keep them off pace, because if you're going to have any kind of success against Michigan, it's not going to be running directly at them. Yeah. It's going to have to become very much a keep away type game.
Watching their game against Ohio State, of course, J.T. Barrett is a great running quarterback, and I don't think Jake Bentley should try and impersonate him.
No.
But they had a lot of success running him against that Michigan defense. They were really tough up the middle, like you said. They ran right at him. They got stonewalled for the most part. But when he would fake it, or they would run a play for him to get outside in a seam, they had a lot of success. That's why they came from behind down 14-0 and won that game in the Big House. So do you do that as your game planning here? Do you try to incorporate more quarterback runs into your offensive game plan?
The one thing I would incorporate in this one, and we saw it, I think, with the package they had with Mon Denson and Turner.
Wildcat.
Run that no, not the Wildcat, but when they had both backs in.
Oh, yeah.
I could see them playing, if he's healthy, really healthy, Rico Dowdle and A.J. Turner, because they're their 2 best running backs who come out of the backfield and catch. I can see either just a quick drop off to the side or the wheel route to A.J. Turner out of that, and you can maybe pop somebody open.
You can't run the option, though, against a Big Ten team.
No.
This should be, for South Carolina's defense, this should be a good matchup because you got a quarterback who struggles throwing, 53% completion. So you know that you can – he's only thrown 1 touchdown pass and 5 interceptions, okay? His longest completion is 37 yards. Their secondary, even though they've got some good-looking receivers – at Michigan, some good size, they should match up pretty well with them in the passing game, which should allow them to do some things to offset the running game for Michigan, which Michigan's going to line up. They're going to run a fullback. They're going to run some power sets. They're going to try and make you bloody on the line of scrimmage. And I think South Carolina will match up pretty well. You can play – watching Ohio State, I mean, they had 7, 8 in the box and manned up on the outside for the most part. Sometimes they ran 2 deep safeties, but they would man up on the outside and try to put pressure on O'Korn. Michigan quarterbacks have been sacked 26 times this year. So I think you could see South Carolina do some damage from that standpoint, and I think it could be a game where the South Carolina defense can keep Michigan in check offensively, and then you just have to hope that here's an advantage for South Carolina. As Michigan's defense, as their coordinator Brown is preparing, he really doesn't exactly know what to expect with a new offensive coordinator.
Well, here's the wrinkle that I think will at least be a feather in South Carolina's cap. I think it's going to be harder for Michigan's offense to score on South Carolina's defense than vice versa. I think South Carolina, I'm not necessarily saying they could be able to put up huge packs of points against Michigan, but I think they'll be able to get theirs. And I think 20 points should win this football game. And I think the other part of this, too, is that, while we talked about Jake Bentley's stats from last year's bowl game, it's important, Corn, to not get aroused by any numbers you see.
There he goes again. Yeah, I tell you, he's going to be alone, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be alone and lonely here over the holidays. If you have
neither one of those,
you have a seat at the table for a lonely guy from the north.
Neither one of those things.
Yeah. Sounds kind of lonely to me.
The wild card is
I'd invite you to my place, but we're full up.
Ooh. The wild card in this game, guys, I think also is a guy.
Your Christmas dinner.
Casey
Your
Crosby.
Jewish
Actually, we have a place we go where we get together after the movie. We go to a movie.
It's a Chinese restaurant.
No. We go to somebody's house.
I'm glad
very
you said
nice
that
brunch.
because I was about to ask that question.
Actually, there is a Chinese dinner. We got to miss it because we're going on the road to Tampa.
Right.
So we would have lunch at some friend's place,
and
then we'd go Chinese for dinner.
That is the stereotypical thing that usually
we
most
break
Jewish
all
people-
stereotypes. Yeah, we
usually stereotypical thing.
and we'll probably go to a movie.
Yeah.
On Sunday night.
Oh, that'll be good. No, I was saying the
Of
wild.
course, last Christmas Eve, was it last Christmas Eve? No, 2 Christmas Eves ago. Maybe it'd been Christmas Day. It was Christmas night. Yeah, Kier Thomas commits to the Gamecocks on Christmas night while I'm in a movie. And I get the text, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Is there no respect for the holiday?
For you to do it, hey, Christmas is a day.
Go ahead and finish.
Thanksgiving is a meal.
Talk about the president underneath Will Muschamp's tree.
I was saying the wild card in this equation is a guy who had some tremendous catches in his first 2 years at South Carolina, been banged up all year. Casey Crosby. See how he's used in this, because he is he can find some holes in that defense, and if you let him sneak out of that backfield as a tight end, he can get deep on you.
Well, I'll tell you what, as we wrap things up here, I just want to say what 2 great additions to the Sports Talk family that we are blessed with here during the holiday in Will Pelagic and Brian Leonard.
Well,
so glad these 2 guys have joined what we're doing here. Pro and I, of course, we've been around here a little while, and we'll be right here a good bit longer, I hope. But it's great to have Willie P here as part of the family, and Brian as well. They bring a ton of great stuff to Sports Talk, and we appreciate the 2 of you very much, and look forward to being with you on the road from Tampa and having Will down with the Tigers, and we bring you great coverage. You'll hear from the coaches and the players throughout next week as much as we can get to them and bring that to you. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I was saying this,
and you'll be right here, Pro, in your Barco Lounge, or watching everything.
Physically, it's great to have a guy behind the glass that I can truly, because of the way we sit here with my back turned and won't think that anything exotic is going to happen.
Come on, Brian.
Yes, because the show runs so smoothly with him at the controls.
Absolutely. He's outstanding. Final thoughts before you hit the road?
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to 2 great football games to represent the state of South Carolina to basically conclude the season. I'm thinking that it'll be a pretty happy. It'll be a pretty happy time on this New Year's Day with these 2 teams.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking both can win. I'm thinking both can win, and both. Listen, I mean, if you're South Carolina and you go 9-4 with a win over Michigan,
heck of a step.
A win over Michigan, a win over Florida, a win over Tennessee in the same season. Yes, the loss to Clemson is a big scab. I get that.
And you beat Missouri.
Like I said, a win over Michigan, a win over Florida, and a win over Tennessee on your resume for South Carolina says a lot. And a 9-win year. And then Clemson, I'm just going to say they're not backing up. They're only getting better. If you're South Carolina talking about the in-state competition, you're like Auburn to Alabama. Auburn had to elevate itself to catch Alabama. And from time to time, they do so. South Carolina's going to have to do the same thing. And I think Will Muschamp is on that road, laying the foundation to being able to do that, to be very competitive with Clemson in the future. It just takes a little bit of time.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Be safe. Enjoy yourselves. Be with us on Tuesday.
Talk to you from the bayou.
Back with you on Sports Talk then. Have a great night.